Today, we're going to take a close-up look at the Blending Buddy brushes from Trinity Stamps. I wanted to give you guys a close-up look at how these brushes come, how they work, some tips and tricks, and really just dive in deep so you can make a decision about how you want to use your brushes and how many you might get, and just get a real close-up look at them. So let's dive right in. You order a Blending Buddy brush, this is how it's going to come. It comes in this little box and it'll come just like this. You're going to get the brush and the lid. When you open these, I always suggest to crack it open like it's a plastic Easter egg, like that. And when you're ready to close this brush, you want to put it in at an angle, give it a little twist, and then snap that lid right on. And that's going to be more important as you use this brush and it gets full of ink. It's going to get a little bit more spread out. So remember, crack it like an Easter egg, tilt it and twist it to cap it. Now, we love the cap because it allows you to let this sit right on your desk as you're working. And you can have several of these out at a time where you could not snap it into place, but have a place for it to rest. Now, usually when you're doing ink blending, it's fun to have your brushes color marked, color indicated. So we do have a solution for that, and we're going to talk about that now. All right, here are our Blending Buddy brushes with the color clips in place. We have 12 color clips available so that you can label these with the color you want to use them for. The color clips are designed specifically for our brushes, and they just snap right into the hole already provided on the brush. You're just going to spread that apart and put the two ends into the hole. The other thing that comes with this is a disc. This is going to allow you to color coordinate the lid so you don't get your lids mixed up. I like to use a little glue dot to keep my disc in place. So that's how that works. And again, tilt and twist. Now, I like to store mine on a Lazy Susan and have them, I can turn them around and pick out the one that I want, and I can easily tell what brush is for what color. I will use this for all my different reds. I don't necessarily need a brush for every single red ink pad that I have, but I do not like to use my dye brushes, ones that I use for dye ink, on pigment pads. So this is my set for dye-based inks. So I can use this on different shades of red. Now, if I feel the shades are really different from each other, I can go in and brush this off onto a paper towel to kind of get rid of some excess ink, or even onto another piece of paper that I might use for something else. All right, so we have our 12 colors here, even white. So white is one you're definitely going to have that will be for pigment inks. That's really the only way that white ink comes. So this is for pigment ink right here. All right, so let's take a little bit of a closer look at these brushes and how they work. Now here's a look at my blending brushes for my pigment-based inks. I use these for Distress Oxide ink. They work great for that as well. I will show you that in today's video, but I just wanted to show you, like, it's pretty much the same exact thing. You can't really tell. I keep mine on a separate little Lazy Susan here. Another great way to store these would be on a pegboard with the hook like this. Some people will put hooks on the side of a cart and hang them on the edge of a cart. So there's a lot of storage possibilities as far as that goes. But the pigment ones I keep separate from my dye-based inks, and I will use them separately. I never put my pigment blending brushes onto a dye-based pad, or vice versa. I never put my Blending Buddy brushes that have been used on dye ink onto my pigment pads. I just keep those separate, and then they work best that way. All right, let's do some blending and see this brush in action. All right, we're gonna crack it open like it's a plastic Easter egg, and I have my Lumberjack Plaid Distress ink here. So this is our dye-based ink. I'm just swirling this rounded domed brush around on this pad. Now this is a very large brush. The bristles in this brush are really dense. It's very soft. So this is going to give us nice, quick coverage. Now, when you're doing any type of ink blending, you always want to start with your brush off of the paper, never on the paper. And that's going to allow that harsh first line to not be created onto your paper. So I'm going to start off the paper and work my way on. And when I very first start ink blending, I'm always going to come in with a super soft, light touch, not a heavy hand. You want to add more ink as needed just by swirling that brush back and forth and round. And then again, start off of the paper and work your way on. And you can always build up the color as you go. You never want to try to get it as dark as you want it the very first time, unless you're going for something that's really, really soft, then that's probably fine. So you can see how quickly I am able to get ink across this piece of paper with this large blending brush. Also, the way that I hold this is very comfortable in my hand. It makes it easy to control and easy to apply that ink. So let's do one more pass here and get it as dark as we like, adding another layer in and really softening this out and spreading the ink around. Isn't that gorgeous? All right, we're going to bring in a second color here. I want to show you something else about this brush that I think is a really good tip, especially if you're going to use a smaller ink pad. All right, I have cleaned off my work surface and I'm ready to come in with a new color. This time I'm using Picked Raspberry, and you can see this is an ink cube. I've got my pink brush here, but I need to come at this a little bit differently than I did before because I have this small ink pad. Now, if I was going to use this like I normally do, you could really even bring this little pad off of its base just because it's held on with a little bit of glue. So what I suggest is ink this in reverse. You're going to take your little ink cube and you're going to roll this right onto that brush like so in a circular motion like that. All right, so now we'll go ahead, start off of the paper and work our way on. Like so. And when you're ready to get more ink, we're going to apply it in reverse, starting off of the paper and working our way on. And you can see I'm already working my way towards that red. I'm already working my way towards ink blending because this brush allows that quick coverage, being such a wide base, and yet the size seems perfect for doing lots of different tasks with your brushes, like stenciling, and I'll show you that also today. And we're getting a really nice blend here. These brushes, they're just so comfortable to use. If you've had trouble with ink blending in the past, you might consider giving the blending brushes a try. I recommend doing a few brushes to get you started with some really well-used colors. Maybe you have some that you already know. I tend to use pink a lot. I use blue a lot for sky. I'll use green a lot for the ground. So those are kind of the three colors I use a lot. So that might be ones that I would start with. And there you've got your beautifully ink blended background. Let's have a look now at the difference of using these brushes with Distress Oxide inks. All right, I have my now Distress Oxide or pigment brushes ready to go. I'm again taking my brush to the pad and just swirling it around in kind of a back and forth motion, loading this up with ink, and then starting off the paper and working my way on. And you can see these work just as good with Distress Oxide, which is why I have a set for both my pigment and dye-based inks. And it is a collection that I just built up over time and have used so much. I do a lot of ink blending. I really enjoy it. And so for me, having the set has been so worth it. All right, so there we have our lumberjack plaid on. I've done half the sheet in just no time. Let's do one more pass and see if we can get this corner a little bit darker. Really soften out this ink. By the way, if you're wondering, the paper that I'm using today is Bristol Smooth paper. It blends so beautifully. All right, we're gonna switch our brushes now. So tilt it, twist it, and snap it in. And then I always like to make sure that I am cleaning off my surface before I'm switching out my brushes. That way I'm not going to contaminate the next brush with the previous color. And that is going to keep my brush happy, and in this case, keep it pink. All right, so we're going to crack it like an Easter egg. We're going to pick up some picked raspberry this time. Loading up that brush. And your brush might be already really well loaded. It might already have some ink in it from a previous project. You can always start with just the ink that's on the brush and give that a go before you add more ink and start with a new color. So you can see I loaded this up really well. That pad is probably really juicy. I don't even need to add more ink yet at this point. And these blend with Distress Oxide inks so well. I at first did not think I needed a set for my Distress Oxides, and then once I gave it a try, I realized what a dream and what a breeze it is. I love just the feel of holding this kind of brush. It is a lot less stress on my hand, helps me have more control, and so that's why I'm really loving them. Look at that. Okay, so now let's compare this to our other background with the Distress inks. Here's our two side by side. This is the Distress ink. This is Distress Oxide. You can see on both of them that the blending buddy brushes do an incredible job. So how about we do some stenciling next? I am using the Heartburst stencil and loading my brush up with the lumberjack plaid. I'm going to start in the center here and just work my way out, adding more ink as I need it. And this is in real time here, so you're going to be able to see how quickly it is for me to stencil a background with these brushes. And of course, you can always make these darker, going over them multiple times. And this is a two-step stencil process. So you can see there's etched lines right here. That's going to allow me to use either stencil first or second, line them up and get a two-toned look. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the pink for the next layer, and then I'll have these two different colors that are going to be great for any card background, but maybe especially Valentine's Day. All right, so I think we're looking good. I do sometimes like to go over my stenciled work and just kind of use up the ink that is on top of the stencil and work that in. There is quite a bit of ink that can get built up there, and it just makes it, you know, a little bit easier for cleanup to do that. So you can do that as well. All right, let's take a look at our first layer. Very cool. How quick was that? All right, let's do layer number 2. This time I think I'm going to work with one row at a time and see how that goes. I think it will go very quickly. These this second stencil that I'm using, these rows are just a little bit smaller of hearts, so this is going to go even faster this time. And again, this is in real time, so you can see exactly how quick these brushes are at stenciling and ink blending. There we go. There is our stencil background. That is so pretty. Wow, I can't wait to turn this into a card. Another thing I wanted to show you that I personally do is keep one brush that is for my favorite ink that I use to make skies or clouds. And I keep one just for that, so it's ready to go every time. I don't have to clean it off with a paper towel. Now, speaking of cleaning these off, people have asked, how can I wash this? Well, you can use some mild soap and water and just scrub that little brush. If you have like a little scrubby thing, you can use that, and then just let it air dry like so. This is just a makeup style cleaning brush. I might have got it at the dollar store. I'm going to wet my brush a tiny bit. You can see there's plenty of ink coming off. And you're just going to scrub it like this. You could do this with your fingers as well. You just want to be gentle with it. And then we're going to let it air dry once we get all of that ink out. Now your brush will probably be stained, but you're going to use it for the same color anyway. I also will take a towel and just give this a little bit of love and try to help collect any excess water before I let it sit. And usually I let it sit overnight. I haven't really clocked how long it actually takes it to dry, but you'll be able to tell. So we'll just let this dry, and now it's clean and ready to go. I have one more tip for you, and that is what to do when you want to ink up just the edge of something. So I'm going to take my Blending Buddy brush and just grab a little ink right on that corner. I'm going to start on the mat and work my way on and just dust the edge of this die cut with that little bit of color. I can always go back and make it darker by adding another layer, but I'm gonna always start out light and work my way up. So you can see I'm just inking up the edge of my brush with a little bit of ink and working my way on like that. And that's how you can use this bigger brush to just get ink on the edge of something, like that. Thank you so much for watching this video about Trinity Stamp's Blending Buddy brush. I hope that you enjoyed it and picked up some tips and tricks along the way. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, leave them in the comments below and we will chat with you there. You can find a link to the brushes and the clips in the description box below, and we'll be back again very soon with a creative video. Thanks for watching. Bye.